So we're back at Target. It's Friday night. It's on and popping. Now, I don't know if you guys know this. Target is lightweight lit. And yeah, I go to Target Friday nights, but most of the time in the evening or even mid-afternoon, Target is full of singles. Singles. All right, so I'm moving through Target. As soon as I walk in, I see this older lady, and she sort of smiles at me and waves, and I wave back. I don't know her. I wave back, being nice or whatnot. I proceed to go to my favorite section, Chip and Joanna. They got a Dutch oven on sale, and I'm like, yeah, it's coming home with me. So I go over to Chip and Joanna's section. The old lady follows me, right? So I'm on the one side and I'm looking at, it was a cream colored Dutch oven. I think it was for like $50, but it was on sale for maybe $30. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm about to take this home, 50% off. Chip and Joanna, come on. They're going to have to cut me a check. So the old lady, I would say she was probably maybe 68, 70, something like that, right? So she comes up, she's like, hi, Tom. And I'm like, hey, you? Good. And she's like, she comes and she's going to give me a hug. And so, I'm tall. So I bend over because she was probably about 5'3", something like that. So I bend over to give her, to embrace the hug she's trying to give me. And I don't know who this is, right? And she reaches up and grabs my nuts as she's giving me a hug. And she says, you wouldn't break my hip. And I'm like, when story time goes wrong. And she made a snarl like that Eartha Kitt. You know what I'm saying? That snarl sound. And I'm like, okay, I really need to quit telling stories because this is getting out of hand. Sort of, she backs up a little bit and I'm shook. You know what I'm saying? She didn't have my member section in her elderly paw, if you will. And I'm just like, the audacity. And so this lady who was standing behind me, who was coming around the corner, she was just like, that was just rude. You know what I'm saying? And then the older lady walks away. And so the lady, I turn around and it's a younger lady. She probably looked around 30 years old or something like that. She's just like, that was rude. That was super duper rude. And I was like, it's my own fault. You know what I'm saying? I put myself in these situations and da-da-da. And so she's like, well, I know who you are, but that's not why I want to talk to you. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, yeah, I hear you're a life insurance broker. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. That's my normal job. And she's like, hey, how would we go about getting a quote for my whole family? And I was like, well, I do that all the time. You set a date, invite everybody over, and then I'll come over and give people quotes. You know what I'm saying? Make a little evening of it, and you try to get as many people as covered as possible. Look, sidebar. Look, if you don't got life insurance, please get life insurance. You don't have to get it from me, but you have to get it. So please, if you do not have life insurance, please get life insurance. If you want to get life insurance from me, I am licensed in Ohio, Texas, and Georgia. So please, if you need it, hit me up, link in the bio. She's like, okay, when's the next day you're free? And I'm like, okay, I'm free next Wednesday, I believe, and we can do it around 6:30. And she's like, bet, I'll have everybody there. Look, y'all, before we get too deep, this story is going to go left. This story is going to have a fight. This story is going to have gunfire. This story is going to have a cop chase. So stick around to the end because it's going to get a little nuts. Story time has really picked up, on the other platforms. So, not only here, but on other platforms, it's almost a little bit of a cult. So people bump into me all the time, story time, story time, story time. So I think people be coming with the drama because they know the drama exists here, if you will. Back to the story. I go over old girl's house. When I pull up, it's a gang of cars in the driveway, kids outside playing. I'm like, bet, this might be a tight little situation. I'm starting to do, the quotes or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And part of my whole thing is I have this workbook that has all these questions in it. And every time we get into this question and answer period in the workbook, now when I'm at, these people's house, it always be a problem. One of the questions on there, who don't you want at your funeral? One of the questions on there is there any particular person you want noted in your obituary that your family doesn't know about? Another question on there is there any items in your house that you want removed before friends and family can come in? So if you can, read between the lines, these questions are pretty interesting. Family members are coming, family members are going. One of the girls that comes in is a girl I used to date, and I've done a story time on, and she's with her husband. So it gets time for me to do them. She's acting very familiar, very flirtatious, very everything. And her husband, he is sitting there like boo-boo the fool. Like, he don't know what's going on. He just like, oh, that's crazy. Yeah, he's so funny. And she's being extra as hell. Like, they was cooking food and, they had some drinks. And she was like, one of the ladies was like, Tom, you want me to fix you a drink? And she gonna interrupt and be like, well, he likes Crown and Coke with a splash of grenadine. And her dumbass husband like, I like mine too like that. I'm like, this dumbass. So I'm uncomfortable at this point because I know this particular person and she is... I'm giving them their quote, you know what I'm saying? And she's just being really, really disrespectfully flirtatious. I was like, who do you want to be the beneficiary on your policy? Now, like I said before, if you watch any of my videos, this happens all the time. Husband and wives putting each other down ain't a give in. And so I asked her, who do you want to be the beneficiary of the policy? And she was just like, you. And I was like, bitch. And so the husband, he looking at me, I'm looking like, man, you play too much. Just, so I'm like, Keisha, why do you keep playing? Like, we got to get through this and this and that. And she was like, no, I want you to be the beneficiary. And I'm like, you're married. This is your husband. Remember that. And then so the husband sort of like snaps out of it. And he's like, how do y'all know each other? And I'm like, I'm going to let her tell the story. I'm here to do something. Is there anybody else who need any assistance while these two have a little moment of marital conversation? Well, he pulls her to the side and he's like, hey, what's going on? And so she like, she tells him the whole story. Now, me and this girl dated for probably about close to 2 years. I'm not going to tell y'all what story time it is, but if you can read between the lines of this story, you could probably put it together. In my head, I'm thinking there's no way that this is coincidence. So I look at the girl that I met at Target and she's standing in the hallway for the kitchen and she sort of got like a cup of tea and she's sipping it and she like, oh. And in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, this was the setup. You know what I'm saying? They come back to the table. He sort of got a look on his face, you know what I'm saying? And he like, it is what it is. That's what happened in the past. And, we're going to move on. But hey, there ain't no way you about to be the beneficiary of my wife's, life insurance policy. And I'm like, yeah, I totally agree with you. She a little out of line for that. And so she goes into explaining it. And she was just like, Tom, I love that dude. That's my husband, but he bad with money. He don't know my kids. He don't really know my family. Da-da-da-da-da-da. You know all of that. You know all my situations. You know my parents. You know more about me than he do. I'm frustrated at this point because she's telling the truth, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you're married. This ain't the conversation you have at a family get-together to get life insurance. Yeah, so we move forward. I get to him. He's like, well, put my mama down. If I can't put my wife down, put my mama down. And I'm just like, man, this is a lot to go through for this commission. So he like feeling some kind of way and he started banging some alcohol back. And I'm like, man, this is about to get crazy. I give them my workbook with all the questions about, all the stuff I was talking about earlier, but it's way more questions than that, right? And so they sort of move to the end of the table and I start working with another couple. And so I hear them start arguing and all I hear is, bitch, you still fucking that nigga. Yo, stay tuned for part 2. This the only video that's going to be on this platform. The rest of them all going to be on my YouTube. So you got to head over to my YouTube and all of them be on there. The whole playlist to be on there. So it'll be like part 1, part 2, part 3. They'll all be on my YouTube account. So head over to YouTube. First off, in my opinion, the link will be in the description in the bio. Everything goes left. Everything goes left. I'm telling you, this is that story.